Hi, this is Joy Scott. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar, The Secrets of the LinkedIn Power User. The two companies bringing you the webinar today are Scott Public Relations and Focus Creative. Scott Public Relations is a 24-year-old full-service PR and marketing agency serving companies in healthcare, insurance, technology, and professional services across the U.S. and abroad from our offices in Los Angeles and Atlanta. Our agency has researched the early success of business-to-business applications of social media and identified what traditional and new media tactics are most effective for this type of business. So you might be interested in reading more about that on our white papers on our site, scottpublicrelations.com. Focus Creative Group President Robert Grossman is our presenter today, sharing his expertise and the workshop he created on LinkedIn B2B Power Tips. Focus Creative is a full-service multimedia communications, marketing, and production company, bringing that important expertise in presenting a company's message visually, using the latest technologies to get the right kind of attention and the right positioning. Robert works with organizations to grow their businesses using state-of-the-art communications and multimedia technology. So if you're like many users of LinkedIn, you might have a profile on the social network and may not be using it much beyond that. Yet LinkedIn has been called the Facebook for business, and more businesses are finding out that it has significant potential to make connections, establish relationships, and expand their firms. This webinar focuses on using LinkedIn for those purposes, especially expanding your business and driving sales using power tips, which we will be presenting today. We will be looking primarily at applications for business-to-business enterprises that are rapidly increasing their investment in social media and see it as a viable tool for marketing and sales. Okay, so moving along then, I will turn the presentation over to Robert.
Thank you, Joy, and thank you for that wonderful introduction. I'm very excited to be on this webinar today sharing with you the secrets of the power user for LinkedIn. I adopted LinkedIn very early on and found it to be a very useful tool for growing my business. And I started speaking on LinkedIn probably about 3 to 4 years ago when people recognized that I knew more about it than everybody else. And I just knew a little bit more at that time. And it was very fascinating to me that when I would poll an audience, out of 50 people, only 3 or 4 were using LinkedIn 2.5 years ago. Today, if I did the same poll, every single person would raise their hand. The difference now would be that out of those 50 people, only a handful are probably active on LinkedIn on a daily basis. They're there because they think they should be there. But today we're going to show you what you can do with LinkedIn to grow your business. So our agenda for today is creating a great profile, building your network, using advanced search, which Joy is one of my favorite tools in LinkedIn, utilizing special interest groups to target and find people that you want to meet, integrating other applications to create the power, to make your page more powerful and also create stickiness to your page, creating engagement with LinkedIn's question and answers facility, and soliciting and using recommendations. So here we go. I love starting off with this comic, and if you, just in case, I'll read it to you. It says, so Iran just friended us on Facebook. Like, do we accept? And the world of social media is challenging business people about how to grow their networks and where to be and where to spend their time. And I hope that by the end of this webinar, you'll have a much clearer idea, again, of how to use LinkedIn. So let's talk about creating your profile. Your profile is comprised of many different aspects of what you choose to share on LinkedIn. What I want to talk about first, and our power tip, our first power tip, is really about creating a custom headline, which is right here. So many people forget to customize their headline, And here's mine again, which is customized. You can see that I wrote down the keywords in areas that, number one, I want to be found under, but also what I deliver, my value proposition is in the marketplace. So in other words, it's almost like a virtual handshake out there in the world. So here's somebody else, and I grayed out their information, who did not customize their headline. So you can see that right below where their name is, it says president, and it says where they're from. And then down below that, where the second arrow is, it repeats their title and the name of their company. Now going back to mine again, you can see that I still have my title and my company as part of my headline, but I have my headliner customized. And you know, why is this important? Because when I move my mouse, so this is a live LinkedIn page, if I move my mouse and just hover it over the name of somebody, this is what pops up. So this might be your one opportunity as somebody is scrolling through a list of names to be able to captivate somebody and get them to click on your profile and explore whether or not they want to engage further with you in a relationship. I also call this elevator pitch as well too. So how do you customize your headliner or your headline? If you go into your edit your basic information or your profile information, right down here you'll see headline. You can't see everything that's there in the space, but it is about 120 characters. And there are examples of different types of headlines that you can use. And some people believe to keep it short, some people keep it longer. I choose to use keywords that I might be found under because it is searchable. Now later on we will talk about industry and how to be found and things like that. So I always enter in my zip code down here. And rather than just saying Tarzana, California, I chose Greater Los Angeles area, believing that it will make me more accessible to more people. So we're going to move right on to our power tip number 2, which is customize your public URL. Now, many people don't even know what your public profile is on LinkedIn, and it's this little area down the bottom of your profile. You'll see it says public profile. Yours may not look like mine. Yours may have a series of numbers after it or letters after it where it says, well, mine says Robert S. Grossman. Now the public profile is a very powerful tool because it allows people who are not in LinkedIn to access your profile. It also allows people who are not part of your first and second degree or your first and second group to access your information. You can see that by going into public profile, you can customize what is shown or not shown. Now I've chosen to share all of my information because there's nothing that I have on LinkedIn that I don't want anybody or everybody to see if they're interested in engaging in a relationship with me. So so this is the area where you can control that information if you want to hide some of this information. Now down below on your screen, you'll see that this is where your public profile is. Again, if you don't see something after the in, or if you see a series of numbers, your public profile is not customized. Now how you customize it is you click on customize, and then you can add in your information. So mine again says LinkedIn/in/Robert S. Grossman. Now how do I use my custom profile? I use my custom profile or my LinkedIn public profile in my email signatures. I'll use it on blog posts. I'll use it anywhere where I want somebody to be able to learn more about me, but where I might be meeting somebody who won't have access to LinkedIn or might not be connected to me. From my public profile, somebody is able to invite me to connect with them or to send me a question or an email. A public profile is a very powerful feature. Again, I suggest that you use it in email signatures, blog posts, and different areas. Power tip number 3 is privacy settings. Now, Joy is a public relations firm. I know that you have something to say about privacy settings.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's 2 things that can happen if you have, in a sense, without setting the privacy controls here, your Rolodex is open. to the world. Everybody who's a LinkedIn connection to you can be seen by anyone. So for one thing, your contacts, might be solicited or contacted by people they don't even know. So you're kind of exposing them to this unwanted solicitation. And also your competitors. You are opening your Rolodex basically to your competitors who might want to see who you're connected with for their own reasons. So for these two reasons, we recommend that you do set privacy settings so that your network, your LinkedIn network, is only accessible to you.
And how you do that is under your profile, you look down and you scroll down and you can see select who can see your connections. And when you click on that, it will give you an option that only you can see it, or you can share it with your entire network. Right now, LinkedIn doesn't have any other options available. It's either all or nothing. And I do connect with my competitors because in my business, my competitors are also my partners or vendors, and we do work together. However, sharing who my clients are and giving them access to that is not something that I wanted to do either. So when this feature became available, I turned it on so only I can see my Rolodex. Building your network is probably the granddaddy question of them all. And the big question is, do you want to create a network that's wide and far-reaching or close and narrow? I will say right now publicly that there is not a right or wrong way of doing this. It really depends on what you want to achieve and how you want to use LinkedIn. The reason why I say that and the way I said it is that when I do this presentation live, this one topic actually raises the most questions, the most heated conversation about which is right. See, I'm a wide and far-reaching type of person, and I'll show you why in a little bit, but other people are close and narrow. Joy, I believe you're close and narrow.
Yes. In my business, the niche that I interact with and focus on is very, very defined and very small. It's healthcare, for healthcare public relations services. So consequently, having a wide-reaching network, I didn't think made sense for me. And also, I wanted to really know who's in my network. If someone asked me for a referral, for example, I didn't want to have to say, well, gee, I don't even know who that is. So for that reason, I chose the close and narrow.
And that is the reason why most people do choose close and narrow who don't go that route. I do get asked from time to time for an introduction, and then there are some times where I may not actually know the person in my group. I still tend to facilitate the introduction. They connected with me, I connected with them. It does create some background of relatedness, but I can completely understand also the close and narrow. By the way, if you are close and narrow and you want to expand your network, it is far easier to expand it than it is to bring it back to close and narrow. And there was a time where I was called a lion in LinkedIn, and LION is an acronym in the LinkedIn community. You may see it in people's headline, which stands for LinkedIn Open Network. And what that essentially means that if you're a lion, you agree to accept an invitation to connect with anybody without any concern. You just accept people's connections. I used to put lion in my headline. I took it off. I'm not a lion anymore. There are some people I am not connecting with anymore, but I'm still a far and wide-reaching kind of guy, and I'm going to show you why. Which is best for you? It depends. As you just heard, two different point of views. Neither one is right, neither one is wrong. It just depends on how you want to use LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a network that is designed to find and be found, and it is the reason why I've chosen to go wide. Now, some people look at my first-degree connections and say, wow, you have a lot of people. What I'm primarily interested in is the people that are 2 degrees away. I kind of ignore the 3 degrees away. The 2 degrees away is a huge number on my network, and the reason why is because the chances of me meeting somebody or being introduced to somebody in my 2nd degree is much higher, much, much, much higher than my 3rd degree. So this leads to sending invitations to connect with people. I'm sure that we've all seen this. You receive an invitation, and they have the default, I'd like to add you to my professional network on LinkedIn. That's okay, but there's a better way to do it, which leads us to power tip number 4, which is personalize your introductions. And here's an example of a personalized invitation that I sent out to a group of people, and I wrote how we know each other, how we're connected, and I invited them to connect with me. And I did ask them to, if they didn't want to connect with me, just to ignore this. You don't have to mark it as spam or anything like this. And it was very, very successful. With that, and you may also choose to personalize your invitations. For example, if you meet somebody, Joy, like at a networking event or at a conference, when you come back to your office, either you or your administrative assistant or somebody can take the cards and invite people to connect. And if you remind them how you connected with them, you know, I met you during the cocktail mixer at the conference last week, and we had a great conversation, and I thought it'd be a really good idea for us to stay connected via LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. That's another way of personalizing your invitations. You can also personalize your reply, and here's an example of a reply that I received from somebody who I am now connected with, and we exchange leads from time to time. And he wrote down, "Glad to be connected. Best of luck in your upcoming seminar." And he wrote more information. This just builds the background of relatedness and the ability to really meet somebody and connect with somebody. The minute that you receive that, at least when I receive the standard LinkedIn invitation, I know that it's not really somebody who is taking the time to think about how we met or to connect. Now, Joy, this is my favorite topic on LinkedIn, and it's using...
Mine too.
And this is, by the way, using advanced search. Whenever I do a seminar on this or a talk on LinkedIn, and I ask people who embraces it and who thinks it's a waste of time, those people who raise their hand and think it's a waste of time, but they're there to learn more, this is where the light bulbs turn on. You can hear people literally going, "Oh my God, I had no idea that you could do this with LinkedIn." So advanced search. It can be used in so many different ways. Here's a few of the main ways that Joy and I use it: business development, soliciting referral sources, expanding our network, finding resources. For example, if you're traveling to a city and you want to find other people that you might be able to leverage or use, or you just want to, like for my business, for example, if I'm shooting a video in New York, I might want to find some backup video production companies or places where I can get equipment. Connecting with alumni from your university, and also business opportunities. So this actually comes to another kind of subtopic in this area, which is paid versus free. And on a free account, you can only contact through your Tier 2. When you have a paid account, you can actually search the entire LinkedIn database. So that is the most compelling reason to use a paid account. I will also say that as anybody who's been using LinkedIn for a while is noticing that LinkedIn is slowly removing some of the capabilities or some of the features under their free account and moving them to their paid account. So they're definitely moving their business or driving it towards getting people to pay for LinkedIn. Do you have any comments?
I was going to say that also with the paid service, you can contact people beyond that second tier level in your network. You don't get unlimited access to them, at least this is how it is at this point in time. But it is very useful, for finding and being able to contact directly with certain individuals.
Fantastic. So this leads us to power tip number 6, which is directly connected to advanced search, and it's find new contacts based on the potential for getting an introduction. And I have a story to share with you. A true story. A little while ago, I was traveling to Manhattan to do some work there, and I realized that I had some extra time. So I thought, well, while I'm there, I might as well knock on some doors and meet some people. I decided to try LinkedIn to see if I could find people there to connect with or to meet, and also find the appropriate introductions to those people. So on LinkedIn, we all know that you can search for people, but right next to search on the right side, there's a little tiny link that's called advanced search. And not many people know that advanced search is there. When you click on advanced search, it brings up a window or a page that has a lot of different search criteria, and we're going to kind of break it up a little bit in the next couple of slides. So under people search, you can search by keywords, you can search by location, by country, you can get a little more specific and do it by a postal code, and you can also tell LinkedIn within how many miles of that zip code do you want to see people. You can also look by people's titles and company and what school they went to. So in this situation, I typed in a zip code for Manhattan, and I was going to, Deloitte is one of my big clients, and so I wanted to meet other senior managers at Deloitte. I wanted to see who was available for me to meet with. So if you look under title, I typed in senior manager, and right down here there's a box that's really important. If I drop down that box, if this were a live page, you would see current, and the other option will be current and past. If I typed in past, anybody who was a senior manager at Deloitte and has that position in their LinkedIn profile will come up, whether they're a senior manager now or not. And that's the same thing with company. Here I put in Deloitte and I put in current. If I put in current or past, or just past, if somebody worked for Deloitte 20 years ago, then their information would come up as well too, and that's not what I was looking for. Just to show you the other side of the page, you can also really drill down. If you look under industry, you can see that there's actually a lot of categories under industries. You can really drill down based on industry, by groups that you're involved in or people you want to meet, or language. So for example, if you happen to be traveling to Tokyo and you want to meet somebody in accounting and somebody who speaks English in Tokyo, or if you're looking for a business partner in Tokyo to represent you, and the fact that they speak English or a certain language is important, you can find people based on those criteria. Very, very powerful, very powerful. Now, once again, I grayed out most of this information, and when I hit search, I actually came up with 746 results. Way too big of a number for me to manage. But 746 people have that title within a 50 square mile radius of the zip code that I put in there. So in order to modify my search, I came down to this left-hand column, and I could have modified it in many different ways if I wanted to. What I did is I searched for people in my network only. Remember that I said that this is the find a high potential. So now I want to find people that I know that are in my network in Manhattan, not everybody, because I'm paid. Mm-hmm. So everybody would come up at that point. So when I searched again, that knocked down the number to 42, which is a much more manageable number for me to look through quickly and figure out who I want to meet. So power tip number 7 is evaluate potential by degree and connection. This is a power tip only because we're all very busy, and I don't want to call 42 people. I want to get that number down to 2 or 3 people if possible to increase the likelihood of this happening for me. So when I look at the connections here, there's a few things that I see immediately. That the top one, I have one shared connection. The second one, right here, I know this person, and then but it's not the type of relationship where I can get referrals. But down here, I have 7 shared connections and 1 shared connection. So very interesting to look at this. And why do I look at this? Because if you look at the likelihood again of who can I meet, chances are the person with 7 connections is going to be more than the person with 1 connection. Okay, so look at the shared connections. When I clicked on the shared connections, I noticed that I came to the box down here, which is grayed out. I noticed that I had a number of things. Number one, I found somebody who, let me back up. I chose the person with 7 connections. When I clicked on his profile, the first thing I noticed is that he has over 500 connections. So that tells me that he's a player, he's into it, he knows how to use LinkedIn. When I looked at how I'm connected to this person, I recognized that there were 4 clients, 4 direct clients or connections that are clients of mine that can introduce me to this person. So when I looked at that, I chose a particular person to connect with. I clicked on this button up here where it says get connected through, get introduced through a connection. And that brought me to power tip number 8, which is I'm about to show you how I used LinkedIn to facilitate the introduction, and how it works is you first write in the category of why you want to connect with this person, the subject, and I typed in a quick little note, are you available for coffee or lunch on Tuesday? And then I put a little more information in there, and then down below I send a note to my client who I'm asking for the introduction. And I said, I wrote basically, I'm going to New York in a couple of weeks. I'd like to meet this person. Would you be willing to introduce me to them? I really would appreciate it. Now, this person has to facilitate that by forwarding the connection to this person named Matt. But I took it one step further. Because a lot of people don't check their LinkedIn email, and because other people have not connected their LinkedIn email to their general email account, I picked up the phone and I called my client. And I explained what I was doing. I told her that there's going to be an email coming in through LinkedIn for an introduction and asked her to make that introduction. She did. I met with this individual. It was a very successful use of LinkedIn. I've used this feature to find clients I've lost contact with that have moved around the world. I have made new vendor relationships, new partner relationships. People have contacted me using advanced search. To make advanced search successful for yourself, you have to make sure that you fill out your profile completely. Because if you don't have your university, for example, if you don't have previous positions that you held on advanced search, it just makes it more difficult for people to find you. Do you have anything else on advanced search?
I found it to be just extremely helpful. We've used it in recruiting, for example. That's one way that companies are using it, is to identify candidates. We've used it for business purposes, to find consultants who have expertise in certain areas, and this ability to plan your, to maximize your travel and to connect with people when you're on the road. I think it's just a fantastic business building capability.
Great, thank you. And our next topic is utilizing special interest groups. And Joy, I know that you use groups a lot.
Yes, and I want, there's so many groups that are on LinkedIn, and we belong to them, we participate, we read the posts and so forth. But one way that we used a group recently was to get some market research information on behalf of one of our clients. They had an issue, a question about their market, and so we went to one of the more active special interest groups and posted that question there and solicited input. There were at least 8 individuals who responded at length and provided us with very valuable information for understanding this particular issue, which we were then able to use in our communications and our programs that were targeting that particular audience. So that's one way. A special interest group is really, in addition to the connections you have and the information you share, it's your own focus group right there online.
Which leads us to power tip number 9 before we dive any deeper into special interest groups, which is share value, help others. This is just not a LinkedIn power tip. This is a social media, blogging, business power tip. There are many people who are using social media as a sales tool and directly soliciting people. I'm sure you've all received those emails and connect requests from people. And that is not really the appropriate way to use social media and not using and LinkedIn. When you share value and you help others, you're building those relationships and connections which people truly remember. It helps you stand out from the crowd as well. And within groups, you really can share a lot of value and help other people. Now, just real quickly, sharing value and helping others doesn't mean you got to give away the shop. It means that you share information and tips so people, they know they're learning something, and you're leaving enough on the table, if you will, so that people will call you back and engage you. So with groups, groups allow you to see both member-generated discussion and news in one setting. And this points directly to what Joy was talking about in terms of doing market research and asking questions for people in a particular group. You can easily browse and previews of the last 3 comments in a discussion. Now groups, by the way, are a subset of information. We're going to show you a couple examples of groups as well too. You find interesting discussions by seeing people who liked the discussion and how many people commented. So when you browse through a group, you can immediately see which conversations generated the most interest, how many people were commenting on it, and by you commenting on the group, it also brings your profile and your name on the part of the group discussion, and more people have an opportunity to see it. Now, some people join groups that are in their industry. They hook up with other people in their industry. I'm going to suggest to you that you also join groups where your prospects are. So that leads us to power tip number 10. Find groups are hanging out, and by you sharing value within those groups and helping people, they're going to see you as a subject matter expert in that area. As an example, when you click on the group page, there are a lot of categories, and right now when you go into LinkedIn, it just shows a few, and you can see this other. So there's a lot more categories you can choose to look under, and this is what LinkedIn just served up when I did a screen capture of this, but you can just see right away that under India leadership, for example, there are over 82,000 members in that group. In social media marketing, 230,000 members. End-to-end web developers, a smaller number, and under sticky branding, an even smaller number. So this is just an example of the thousands and thousands of groups that are on LinkedIn right now. And of course, if you wanted to, you could create your own group as well too, if you wanted to do a specific brand around something. Some people will create a group for an event, just for an event. So out of all the groups that are on LinkedIn, they don't have any stats about how many are active, but I'm sure the active number of groups is far less than how many groups have been created over time. So power tip number 11 is being able to get market information, opinions, recruit staff, and make new connections. Now, Joy, you already addressed some of this already, but this was your power tip, and I know you recently used this for recruiting, I believe.
Yes, we did. And I noticed in the groups that I belong to that the members, it's very, very common for individuals to post open positions, and we've done that as well. And we talked about how to use the groups for getting opinions, market information. It's like having a very expanded staff that you could go into and say, what do you think about this? Or, I'm concerned about that. Or, have you ever tried this? It's just an extremely valuable resource.
I was writing a blog post on best video style, and I was debating with a colleague of mine who is a big proponent of looking directly into the camera, and I'm more of a proponent of interview style, looking away from the camera. And so I went into the video marketing group and I posted that question there, and I got really great, valuable information about the different styles and how everybody feels about it, and it ended up that my style was the best way to do it, but
of course.
That's okay. All right, power tip number 12, we already addressed this a little bit, but that is do not start by selling. People will smell you coming a mile away if you're using this tool to hard sell people. Social media does not work that way. Social media, again, is people are looking for connections, they're looking for information, they're looking to build networks with people that they can trust and build those relationships with. If you start off by selling, you're likely to turn people off, and people can break their connection with you. So I strongly suggest that even if you are selling a product, think about how you can help people live their lives better, be more successful in business, have better relationships, whatever it might be. Think about those things, provide that value, and over time you will build relationships with people. Another tool that LinkedIn provides is integrating LinkedIn with other applications. And by doing this, you're able to enrich your profile and offer more ways to share information and collaborate with your network. The number of applications that are available on LinkedIn is growing slowly, but it is growing, and it's bringing a lot more capability to the LinkedIn platform. Where you find this information is under More in your nav bar, and then down below in the More, it shows your applications. Now, I already have applications integrated, so that's why there's a list there here. But if you don't have anything, you're just going to see Get More Applications. There you go. Power tip number 13 are some of the more useful applications that I found. If you're in other industries, you might find other ones that are more useful that I don't use at all. So for example, here's just 6 of the applications that are available, and there's more than this. I can only capture this many. The one that I use, the couple I use the most is WordPress. By integrating this application, it allows me to automatically have my blog posts added to my LinkedIn profile page without me doing anything else. And I'm going to show you an example of that in a moment. People are using SlideShare as to help market and promote their company on LinkedIn. I'm not a big SlideShare fan personally, but other people like it a lot. Down here, here's an example of a more industry-specific group. Real Estate Pro, there's a lawyers group, and a couple other ones that are for industries. Another popular one that I've seen, which is not shown up here, is an Amazon one, and you can add in books that you've read that you found really valuable and recommend. Not only people appreciate that, but also think about that if somebody sees a book that they just recently read that was very powerful to them about business philosophy or marketing or whatever it might be, it might just add that one additional thing in common you have with them so they can connect with you. Here's an example of what my what my LinkedIn page looks like with WordPress on it, and I set it up to show the last couple of blog posts, and again, it just adds more value to my LinkedIn profile. So the next section that we want to talk about is creating more engagement with questions and answers. Questions and answers is an area that I've grown a little bit more ambivalent about, but it's still a very powerful area, and I'll share why I said what I just said. So LinkedIn provides a platform to ask questions to the entire LinkedIn network and have people respond to your questions with valuable information. The reason why I said I've grown a little bit ambivalent about it is because some people have started using this as a sales tool. They put a question out there, and it's really a question just to get you to buy their product, which is a shame, because I've used this platform for my own business, and also I've helped people with problems that they've had because they posted a question on there. So the questions and answers platform is broken down by industries and by topics as well too. So you have a couple different choices here. One is open questions, closed questions, and also you can see experts in various topics. This is just a screenshot, and somebody wrote a question: McDonald's coffee price increase update. If I clicked on this, you'd see the entire question. Over here, you can see a lot of the topics, and some of these topics have multiple subtopics under it. I know, Joy, you and I looked at the health category, and I think it expanded out to like 10 or 15 subcategories
Yes.
of topics in there. So it's a wonderful place to spend time looking for people that are having some challenges and that you can participate in. So Q&A also allows you to demonstrate that you have expertise in a particular area. The more you participate in questions and answers, the more it adds more value in terms of being searched and being brought up by LinkedIn. They look at this as you're a more active member in the network. So power tip number 14 is Q&A allows you to demonstrate expertise. Power tip number 15 is rather than just answer the question directly, which is what most people do, you can engage with clarifying questions. Some people might call this the consultative sales approach. Rather than just giving the answer or pitching your product or service, help them clarify what they need or what their question really is. So as an example of this, somebody asked a question about if anybody knew any providers for audience response systems. And those are the keypads that you can type in responses to presentations, and then it shows a graph chart or something like that for live meetings. And probably about, if I remember correctly, about 30 people responded to it, and everybody was pitching a certain product. I actually asked the person what they're trying to do with it. How many people are going to be in the audience? What type of information are they trying to solicit? What results do they want to get? And this started a back and forth dialogue with this person. And after a couple different times of going back and forth, I asked the person for the sale. I didn't get the sale because their event was in Chicago and they wanted somebody local. And I'm in Los Angeles, but it was still a very interesting process. And when we were done with that, I asked this person to rate my answer as best answer. Now, you don't have to ask. Many people don't know about rating an answer as best answer. When you are rated as best answer, it bumps you up in the list of being an expert in a particular topic. It also shows in your profile that you were rated as delivering the best answer in all the different categories that you're involved in. The biggest objection that I get from people in questions and answers is the time. And yes, it does take time. The beauty of this is that it's something that you can actually do after hours if you want to. I've had my administrative assistant look through questions and answers, find the ones that I could answer the best, and then that helped me save a lot of time in questions and answers as well too. So again, just as a recap on why use answers, engagement of prospective connections on LinkedIn, learning from your network, helping other people, being identified as a subject matter expert, and also keeps your profile top of mind. So when you answer a question, your profile comes up. And remember I mentioned about being rated as an expert in a certain area. This is essentially what it looks like when you are rated as an expert in questions and answers. So this brings us actually to the end of our LinkedIn presentation. And Joy, would you like to add anything else about questions and answers or LinkedIn?
Oh, I think this has been a very, very comprehensive look at LinkedIn from the B2B business user's perspective. I would just suggest that if you have any questions, to contact us directly at Scott Public Relations or Focus Creative. And we would be happy to talk with you further about how not only LinkedIn, but also other social media would fit within your communications program. So thank you so much for being with us today, and we really appreciate your time and your attention. And good luck linking in.